All right, we are live. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Phil. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you doing?
Doing well. Looking forward to recapping our last webinar and going through reality assets, the bigger picture, and everything that we're doing here at Prevu3D.
Yeah, I think it's quite a compelling subject based on the subscription rate on the webinar. We have a lot of people this week, so it's pretty exciting. I think clearly some people are looking for more information about it. So, yeah.
Certainly. Right. Yeah, so last time we kind of covered, the integration of the as-built conditions with Prevu3D, taking scans from the reality platform into reality plan, and then creating assets out of them, and then pushing them back into Revit or some of the other applications that we have integrations for, and doing some back modeling. And we kind of like left it at that with some cliffhanging aspects, mostly around the reality assets and what you can do with those reality assets. Kind of just discuss more of that bigger picture of where Prevu3D is going and why we have reality assets and what they're actually going to integrate with in the future and how they're going to expedite and increase the value with digital twins.
Yeah, I think in the last webinar we showcased a little bit about the back modeling aspect for some specific asset. We will get back to this, but really today the goal of the call is really to go a bit deeper in the reasoning behind reality assets. So we will cover a little bit what we did inside the plugin, but with all other workflows surrounding the assets as well.
Yeah, I think Prevu3D's belief is that the project and operational excellence really starts at intelligent and contextualized reality assets. Anything that is owned by an organization, anything that is owned by a project, or any construction equipment throughout any project phase. I think those can be really they can really highlight your digital twin and really bring value into those additional elements, that 4D, 5D, 6D component to everything.
Totally. I think that's the main starting point for any person working. They always work with assets. Like we have talked with several customers, uh, both of us. Uh, at the end of the day, it's always like changing a specific asset location, uh, doing the maintenance on an asset, doing something on the asset, looking at the production of the asset. So it's always relating to an asset on the field. So it's always surrounding that.
Yeah, the assets are truly, kind of Prevu3D's aha moment and really separating ourselves from other organizations that do digital twins. When your space becomes smart, your decisions become sharper and the outcomes start to really scale. And that's what we're looking to do, is provide a scalable solution that anybody can custom tailor to their specific project or their specific customer or their specific owner operator aspect.
Yeah, no, totally. I think in the past now 2 years we have been working towards that asset systems. Some people were wondering what we were doing at first, and now I think they realize the power of it in having like that asset representation with multiple visual representation as well, linking things together. We'll cover that a bit later, but I think now that we have that component as the foundation of our project, that opens up a lot of doors.
Certainly. And I think the consistent pain point that we've seen is the amount of thirst and interest in spatial data, whether it's 2D, 3D, as-built drawings, even if it's just one-dimensional aspects where they want to ingest that information. Those projects need a place to be understood, a place to be realized, and it's typically that digital playground in the industry that we're in right now and trying to revolutionize.
Oh yeah, totally. I think a lot of AEC, EPCs, owners and operators, like are running with a bunch of data everywhere. Like the data is not necessarily like operationalized. It's like all in different silos and buckets. And I think by creating those type of assets, it's kind of a way to break down those silos and link together those informations in a centralized point. So yeah.
Certainly, yeah. We certainly want to innovate. We want to decompress all of that additional noise that's out there, that kind of declutter the digital servers, SaaS solutions, everything out there, and really kind of get those point clouds, the models, and the data to live in a cohesive environment that can be utilized by everybody, from the boardroom all the way down to the project engineers, the designers, facility maintenance, and everybody else in between.
Yep. So we have a lot of persona typically in our webinars. I think the goal of this call, like this call, can address a lot of people. It can be like project managers, engineers, designers, EPC professionals, operators, and each of them will find different values in those assets. So, like if we take for instance, like I don't know, like the owner operators, they might want to maximize performance, safe, have like safety instructions on specific assets and things like that. Where the EC might want to look at the intersections with the construction work. Like there's a lot of different values for each of you. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the chat. If you have comments or anything, really like just send over the comments in the chat box, and on our side we will put it on the screen and answer the questions as soon as they comes in.
Yeah, we truly want to kind of call to arms the champions for clarity and control. So anyone in this webinar that's looking for additional clarity on what we're doing, where we're headed, or if you have questions on how Phil and I are abstractly answering our product and our roadmap moving forward, feel free to reach out and we can set up either a demo or answer the question as we see fit here in the call.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are still early in that journey, so like don't be scared if you have questions and things like that. Like a lot of people are going towards that digital transformation, so there's a lot of leaders out there. We can assist you in that journey of digitalizing your asset management in a way that is quite innovative.
Yeah, that digital journey is has many shapes, many forms. We're hoping to streamline that for all organizations with a lower cost of entry, a barrier to entry, and then maximize that for those organizations that are already scaled so that they can utilize the high-end scans that they already have. So we really want to kind of help the data, the geometry become living, contextualize those reality assets, and transform that raw 3D data into intelligent and interactive environments.
Yeah, I think that goes to the how we do it. Basically, on our side, what we do at Prevu3D is we can gather reality capture data out there. Typically, that data is not really structured. It's just a blob of information like point clouds or mesh that we convert. There's no logic to those components. But what we are doing now is being able to create volumetric shapes around those objects in the scene. And I will describe a bit further, like the importance on how we do it as well, because that really matters on how we maintain that digital replica of your site over time. So yeah, we will cover that, the technical aspect of it, but also the why we're doing it this way.
Yeah, I think we have some examples to kind of highlight what we're doing, why we're doing it, provide level of ease, and then how the data can be managed and updated over time.
Yep. So let's, I will share my screen real quick. And yeah, so what you see over here is basically the asset definition feature that we have created. I will pause for a second over here. As you can see, basically we are defining boxes that surrounds the geometry, and basically everything within those boxes will be considered the asset. And the reason we are doing that envelope on top of the geometry is that we don't want to embed information within the geometry itself. So this way we are independent on the visual representation. If you were to rescan later on your space, that information persists in the 3D space. So it's not tied to the geometry itself. So yeah, that's one of the key differentiator, I would say, is that if I were to rescan that room, as long as my point clouds are aligning together or the meshes are aligning together, I don't need to define that asset a second time. It's already done in the space. We will have some tools as well to make it easier. Like if indeed that asset does not exist anymore, we can know that the box does not contain anything anymore, or there's too much differences between how the box was defined initially from the new scan, so we can see those differences and flag and raise some potential issue and tell you, oh, it seems like that asset did change a lot. Do you want to review it or not? Things like that. So if I continue the video, we are defining that asset, and once it's done, it becomes an asset that you can click in the scene. You can, yeah, basically, it's defined. You can click it, you can extract it, and it will show a small video about it as well.
It really showcases, the data and manageability of generating those reality assets over time and in your space. So you can do one or two within that space, or you can do the entire space itself. So it's really kind of setting itself up for the level of building that you guys want to do from a back modeling or from a modeling perspective.
Yep. Maybe we can show another video where this is a much larger scale where we isolated all the piping of the scene. So like what we're showing here is just the final state, but basically it's pretty easy to isolate a piping system if you were to do so, or even assets. So you can like really create as much boxes as you want to define that asset. So there's no limitation on that front. So even if you have like complex geometry or complex assets, that's totally possible. I see that we have questions in the chat, but they are not showing up on our side. Do you have it on your side, Jay? I think there's.
I see one question related to Cyclone 3D R and then the Cadilla 3D experience.
Okay.
So to better answer the question, will you in the near future be able to stream Cyclone 3D R and Cadilla 3D experiences into your environment? Right now, we can ingest a slew of neutral CAD file formats, IGS, IGES, steps, and DXF file formats, STLs, and a few others, JTs and GIBs or GLBs. So those file formats are readily available currently. When we're talking about streaming, are we thinking live aspects, Phil? Like, are we looking to really ingest the live stuff, or are we looking to really kind of embed it and then have that play out in the life cycle of that project?
I would say like on that side for streaming towards Cadia, it would probably be to bring our geometry inside Cadia software, so you can like use it as a reference point when modeling. That's not yet available. That's something we have on our radar for sure. We did like a first plugin inside SolidWorks. Katia is part of the list in the future. It's not planned for this year, but it's totally on our radar to have some better integration between Katia and Prevu3D. For now, like you mentioned, Jay, like you can still import step files inside Prevu3D from Katia, or you can also bring in your mesh in there, but that requires like the file-based approach instead of streaming directly into the software.
Certainly, yeah. A lot of different file formats that are both importable or ingestible and exportable from our platform. Scott's got a couple questions. Can you use negative whole boxes or lugs, etc.? So we have three different types of tools currently. We have an individual box, we have a piping tool, and then we have the magic wand. The magic wand allows you to select items and kind of paint that space based on what you're looking for. So if you want to highlight a specific aspect, lug nut or excluding things. Sorry, it's a broken with a space there. So if you're looking to exclude things, you would just really capture what you want instead of really excluding it. And then can you use shapes other than the boxes and cylinders? So kind of two-part aspect here. The magic wand would be above and beyond boxes and cylinders. You can paint an entire floor, remove an entire wall, create an entire asset out of a wall or a floor or a door, anything that is selectable or painted by that magic wand, that kind of Prevu3D Photoshop, if you will.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we always in the back end fall back to the box representation, but those tools help speed up the process. And I do have a quick example of the magic wand. Actually, I see that it's a whole video. I see the beta text there, but don't mind this one. It's officially in the project now, where you can click, add points. So you see those green points, and it's like Photoshop in a way where you click, and automatically it creates like boxes that fit the geometry that was selected. So it really speed up that process of defining the assets. And you can always fine tune those boxes if you need to, but typically they wrap up pretty well your geometry.
Yeah. Once a box is generated, you can push and pull that to get the desired aspect if something was missed. I think the bigger issue a lot of times with piping is it's close to the ceiling or close to the wall, and the negative space, the space in between you and your LiDAR sensor, and then that wall, you're not going to capture. So with the bounding box, you can do that, and you can sometimes, depending on your line of sight from that LiDAR sensor, you'll actually get as complete as possible that piping aspect just by moving that box out a little bit more. So
Maybe one thing I can show as well is like now that you have defined those assets, there's some workflows that are enabled from it. Like one of them that we have showcased in the last webinar is being able to bring those assets into other softwares. So maybe I will share my screen quickly and show you that workflow where we define that hair handler units. And basically inside Revit, we're able to fetch for those assets that live inside Prevu3D and load them quickly. So like over here, I just have an example. I load that hair handler unit and I can add it as part of my Revit family and quickly bring those assets over here seamlessly into Revit. And I can start back modeling that if I need to, or I can use it as is depending on my requirements or the needs from my customers or the work that I need to do. In that example, we're going through the workflow of remodeling it based on the mesh geometry. So if I speed up over here, like we can kind of do extrusions and all that stuff and go through the process of remodeling and having that reference point. So that speed up a lot the workflow.
it certainly does. And then the one thing that you can do once it's in these solutions is you can then push it right back into Reality Plan, into the Prevu3D ecosystem, and then you have it, right? So that kind of goes right back to the original question about the 3D experience and what you can do with streamed, or I mean, it's kind of a partial stream. It's a push, but it will live and breathe in that environment as needed through the total life cycle of that space or just for that particular project.
There's a question from Caitlin in the chat. Could these be used to quantify items? I would say yes. Basically, every asset that you create will be part of the entity panel, and you can like see how much of those are inside the scene. Pretty soon, we're coming up with more advanced tools regarding Reality Twin. So I will talk about this at the end of the call, but the next webinar will be quite a big one with big announcement. But basically, once you have defined those assets, they become searchable. You can assign them metadata. I will get back to this, but that's kind of the starting point to be able to quantify those items. And currently, the workflow is kind of semi-automatic, where you need to define those assets. But we will, like now that we have that foundations built in, we will start putting in place more tools over time to speed up that process of creating assets for sure.
Yep. Tagging will help increase that speed and that scalability of your organization.
Yep.
So I think the next video, Phil, is related to pipe extraction and Reality Connect.
Yeah, so regarding the pipe extractions, so we have shown quickly the magic wand where you can place some points in the scene. We did another workflow similar to that, specialized for piping, where you basically just put, I will post the video over here, but you can basically click alongside the pipe to kind of define the path of it, and then you can like fine tune the diameter that you want to encapsulate, and it will create boxes that fit that geometry automatically. So it's really quick to isolate the pipe. I know on LinkedIn we had some comments about like people that prefer to take measurements. The goal over here is not really to take measurements; it's really to define, making sure that we define that asset as quickly as possible. Like over here, we see like we have a long pipe run. Like within a few seconds, you are able to isolate that pipe from all the rest of the environment. So if you were to export that as an object, bring it inside Revit, or cut it out, things like that. Like there's a lot of things that are possible from there.
Sure is. I think the flexibility of that being able to isolate that pipe, being able to kind of long-term strategy, what we kind of highlighted on the back end there, pipe, kind of automated extraction. That's going to be really valuable. It's not in the short term, but it's definitely something being worked on in our R&D department. But anytime you can quickly and easily take a data set, that data set starting at the point cloud, mesh it, and then generate an asset out of that, the quicker you are to your design or your objective of understanding and providing insights to that stakeholder that you're working for.
Yeah, and regarding the piping, maybe I can show like one of the use cases that I have seen by some of our customers. Um, Basically, one of them had like a lot of piping in the oil and gas industry, and they were looking to quickly access the, there's some regulation, and they need to do like thickness measurements on some pipes for for maintenance reasons and safety reasons. So every month or 2 months, 6 months, they need to go back on the field, take those measurements. But often it's like just a list of thickness measure point that need to be captured, and people don't even know where they are. Uh, do we need a scaffolding? Do we need like a ladder? What do we need to access those thickness measurement point? So what we did is I will showcase a video over here, but just an example where you can quickly create um, isolate your pipe and then adding like some points like this is the valve, but you can also click maybe somewhere else that would be defined as like a thickness measurement point, like over here the corner, and then you can like retrieve properties. Do we need like a scaffoldings and things like that to access it? So those are the type of things that are possible to do, and later on you will be able to do like things like show me all the thickness measure point that need to be inspected in the next month that requires scaffolding, so you can start plan ahead of times, for example your inspections. But there's a lot of other use cases always related to that, where metadata from your assets contextualized in the 3D space bring a lot of values.
Yeah, and then I think furthering that enrichment with metadata, we are working towards adding, assets and making them more intelligent types, materials, manufacturing, maintenance, historical aspects from the scan data that you have actually already either subbed out through a laser scanning provider, through an AEC, or through your internal department.
Yeah, I can showcase like a small video about adding such parameters on the assets that might help to understand.
Great.
So yeah, what we see over here again is an asset definition being done, and we'll see later on like, being able to attach some properties to it. And over here, obviously, we created several bugs to showcase that no matter what's the complexity of the assets, it's possible to always fine tune those boxes. And here, what we see is like filling up those different properties on the asset. One thing that I know for sure is some of you will wonder, like, oh, is there a way to pre-configure those asset types? So that the answer is it's coming up and it's under QA on our side. I can showcase a small sneak peek. It's a small teaser for our next webinar as well. It's been requested by a lot of customers to be able to kind of create asset types, templates that contains those value. I can show it live on my organization over here quickly. So now at the platform level, you will be able to go and define those asset types. So I can like come over here. Let's say I need to define like a pipe. The pipe contains like a diameter, a color, and need inspection tag, for example, things like that. And you can start defining the properties that you want to be attached to those type of assets. So like I could even like have like an external link, an attachment, drop down options, like text numeric values. So let's say I want like, I don't know, a pressure. Now every time I go inside reality plan and define an asset and I mark it as a pipe, those properties will show up automatically, and the only remaining thing that I need to do is fill up the values. So that's one key component that will come up in the next few weeks, and it's already under beta with some of our customers. So it's pretty powerful what you can do and predefine all those assets. And obviously, filling up the value manually is one thing, but we're also working on integrations to external systems. So for people that has already asset management systems, basically you will be able to connect this with your properties. So you might have seen over here the integration links, right side panel. I won't cover that inside that webinar, but that will open up doors to a lot more advanced feature workflows, I would say, to connect your data.
Yeah, great. So smart assets, right? They really unlock those fast decision-making components to an organization, that cross-functional collaboration. It reduces the rework and the downtime, and then that visibility. You can really kind of start highlighting that visibility across the organization, from in the field personnel to the boardroom.
I
It's
see we
really
have
what we're
a
looking for.
questions from Noah in the chat asking if the scan that we presented was captured by us. So the answer is no. It was from one of our partner, BIMstream, that did the scan capture. On our side, we don't do the service ourselves. We always work with partners. If some of our customers are looking for scanning, if they don't have the expertise in house, we can refer them to and help them in their digitalization journey. So we can assist, but we don't offer the service per se in a house. So basically, if you have your own hardware, we support a lot of scanners from terrestrial, SLAM, and pretty soon drones. So yeah, basically, you can have your home device as well. That works perfectly well.
And then Scott's got one about modeling. So the one aspect about this that we're trying to highlight here is the specific aspect of taking scan data and get it into the designer's hands as quick as possible. Now, we're not looking to do the design within our platform. There's a lot of ecosystems that already exist. They exist and they're probably already in-house, a lot of these organizations. So we don't want to be that CAD aided design program. We want to be that 3D modeling component that really brings value and speed to the life cycle of your 3D environment, right? We're really trying to highlight that digital twin, the as-built environment, the existing conditions, or the future of those existing conditions as they evolve from a ground field to a brownfield environment across the historical aspect of an organization.
So yeah, that's what we had to showcase today. Hopefully it was interesting for you all. If you have any questions, you want to book a demo, like don't hesitate. Like our team can help you in that journey, go a bit deeper in those workflows and the value that it can bring to your organizations. So really don't hesitate. I think Julie or Hal will put a link on the chat to book a demo if you need to. On my side, I will be at HarCon in Orlando next week. So if some of you are attending, don't hesitate to stop by, say hi. We can have like small discussions on that subject. So I will be at the event next week in Orlando.
And I'll be in Houston at Downstream. So Nick, you and myself, and then Eric and Phil will be out in the field looking to connect with anybody on the call today, and then everyone else at those respective conferences. So looking forward to seeing you guys, bring a little bit more reality into your reality capture.
Yeah, and the webinar recording will be available as well shortly. I don't know if it will be today or maybe next week, but if you want to share with some of your colleagues, it will be available as well on our YouTube channel, and it will be probably posted on our LinkedIn channel as well. All right.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Phil, always a pleasure. See you back on Slack.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.